Yeah, what is up, everybody, and welcome to a very special, formal edition of the Hot Stove Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Nunez, joined as always by Mark, Josh, and Austin. And as you can see, we're a bit dressed up for the occasion here. And that would be because today is a very special episode. It is time for the third annual Stovie Awards, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, and in the title of the video that you clicked on. So it's time for the third annual Stovie Awards, an episode where we look back at the year that was in sports. We have some awards that we're going to be giving out, some superlatives that we're going to be doing, and recapping some of the things that happened in Hot Stove this year. But before we get started, make sure to follow the video or follow the channel, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, right? Do the subscribe bit. You got to like the video, right? That's another thing that you got to do. You got to comment on the video. You got to hit the notification bell as well to know when we go live, right? Whether it be live episodes, live outside the box scores, whenever that happens again, live streams.
We're done.
If we ever do a live stream again, if and when, right? Or new episodes of the show. Make sure to be notified on all that kind of stuff. Also, follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod. That's at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. Now, before we get started with the awards, we do want to run through a couple of things housekeeping-wise for Hot Stove as we wrap up 2022. So this is going to be our last episode of the year, obviously, as this will be coming out on December 29th, 2022. So that means a couple things. First of all, it's time to crown the Hot Stove Trivia Champion for 2022, and that's Mark again.
Tight race, I imagine.
Yeah, tight race. Mark finished with 74 points this year. Austin finished with 32, and Josh finished with 27. So tight race indeed. Not to be unmentioned, Adam Pallenberry finished with 7 points himself.
Oh.
So, points per question, Plum Bum might actually take the cake.
Probably, yeah.
He's only been on the show a couple of times. He's got 7 points,
Still a sham, though.
Still a sham.
Still a sham.
So congratulations, Mark. We'll be resetting those leaderboards for 2023. I've already got a couple of questions queued up for when we return in the new year. So we're going to start off trivia hot. Also, FanDuel contest. Still doing it. Take a look at week 16 here. Little comeback for your boy. I finished in first place with 106.8 points. Not necessarily the best week, but it was enough to get the win. That's all that matters. Austin finished in second with 102.9. Mark finished in third with 98.1. And Josh didn't submit a lineup. So he gets the fourth place finish there.
Very
so
nice.
With 2 weeks left in the regular season before we head into the postseason, Austin is closing the gap here. He's only 4 points behind Mark in first place. Mark is at 46 points. Austin's at 42. And then with my first place finish here, I have tied Josh for third place with 36 points apiece. So it's starting to maybe it's split in half. Maybe it's Mark and Austin and then Josh and myself. But we're those two groups are starting to bunch together a little bit. Speaking of FanDuel, we're going to hit you right off the top with our FanDuel lineups for week 17 so we can get them kind of out of the way so we can get ahead to the awards show. So, Josh, why don't you start first and hit us with your FanDuel lineup for week 17?
It's short and sweet. Don't overthink this one, pansies, okay? We got 4 people less than 5,700 money, okay? First off, defense. Doesn't matter. Chargers, hot, who cares? They're playing the Rams, 3,400 defense, fantastic. Want to talk about Chargers-Rams game. Kieran Williams, I think that's his first name. Who cares? He's cheap and he's all I had. That's my flex spot. We go to the other cheap spots. The other cheap ones are Noah Brown and Michael Gallup tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Why is that, Austin? Because the Tennessee Titans defense loves to give up the big play, and Michael Gallup loves the big play. Now, who's going to throw it to him? That's right. They need their quarterback. We stacked it with Dak Prescott tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Also, this week we went big on running backs. Big. Big on running backs. We got Travis Etienne playing against Houston, worst one in the league, worst running defense in the league. Also, the most expensive running back, I believe, this week, Saquon Barkley against Indianapolis. Boy, do they suck. Am I right? Mike Evans will be my final wide receiver, and then a tight end position. If you're gonna pay for one, you're only paying for one, and that's right. It's Travis Kelce. Give it to me. I've never had him, so I'll pay some juice for him this week. That's your FanDuel Jersey Mike sponsored. A sub above that one. You're gonna win.
Yeah. All right, Austin, why don't you go next?
All right, back on it here. Got a crazy stack this week. I got Joseph Burrow stack
Joseph
at home with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in the matchup against the Bills. The Bills suck. I don't care what anyone says. Their defense is going to give up 30. They might score 35 and win. Not the point. Obviously, then I'm going with a little game stack. I got Diggs on the way back. So now you're thinking, wow, Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Diggs. What the hell's going on here? I got ETN as one of my running backs. My second running back, turning back the clock a little bit. Malik Davis for the Dallas Cowboys again this week. Listen, that game tomorrow, the spread is 10. It should be 10 in the first 5 minutes.
Well,
are we joking?
With Henry? Didn't that go up?
With Henry out, it doesn't matter. It should be 35. The spread should be 34.5, and I would still take it. What is this nonsense?
The spread is now 12, by the way, for those wondering.
Oh, that's sketchy. I don't like that.
Tennessee's terrible. Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback. They don't have a running back. They don't have any offensive players. They don't have any defensive players. They have nothing. They're just a team with a coach. Okay, a good coach, but a team with a coach. Okay, that leads me into my defense. The Dallas defense. Love pairing up my running backs with my defenses. So Malik Davis and the Cowboys defense here. My flex here is going to be a guy in a good matchup. Got injuries on his team, I just, maybe I'm just reminiscing. Nelson Aguilar here in my flex spot against the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins stink.
I almost threw up.
And Nelson Aguilar gets open on every play. Watches film. Watches his whatever the hell it's called, 22 review, whatever the hell it's called. I don't care.
All 22.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great player. Mac Jones sucks. Not my point. All right, tight end. Guy with huge upside this week. Easy matchup in a dome. Cole Kmet. Why not? He's coming back this week. He's showing out this week. Him and Fields are going to be great. I almost paired them together, but then I was like, I'm taking Chase and Higgins. I mean, you got to go Burrow if that's the case. Who the hell's throwing to him? So there you have it, folks.
I hate my lineup. Just throwing that out there. Similar to Austin, I also have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but I did not stack them with Joe Burrow because the stack I went with this week is Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk. The 49ers are playing the Raiders. The Raiders have given up. They're benching Derek Carr. Jarrett Stidham is going to start at quarterback for the Raiders this week. Absolutely given up. Josh McDaniels does not give a shit. I'm liking the 49ers in that one. My two running backs, Tyler Algier and Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, we're on that rush yards watch. Now Derrick Henry's gone. And
to lead the league in rushing.
Yeah, the rushing leader watch, I should say. So I'll go with Chubb. They're playing the Commanders. I think the Commanders season might be dead. Carson Wentz is coming back.
Whoa!
I don't know, man.
They win this
Best QB in the division?
We'll see. We will certainly see how Carson plays this week. Along with Ayuk, Higgins, and Chase. Chase is in my flex, so that left me with another wide receiver. That's DJ Chark. Lions are playing the Bears. Chark's been getting quite a few targets as of late. He's a pretty good deep threat for Goff if he wants to throw it deep, so I'll go with DJ Chark there. Tight end, Dallas Goedert. He's going to continue to be rather cheap and provide good value at a position where there aren't a lot of points to be had, but with Gardner Minshew throwing the ball, he loves Dallas Goedert, so I expect him to get a lot of targets. And my defense, since it doesn't matter, is the Los Angeles Chargers against the Rams.
All right. All right. So for my lineup this week, some similar veins that the rest of you have. Game stack is going to be Thursday night football. We're going with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Dalton Schultz as my Cowboys stack here. Dalton Schultz enters the conversation as one of those like back end number one tight ends who I think of any of those guys arguably has the best possibility of having a good game. Not even like a blow up spot, not necessarily the highest upside, but like the best possibility of just like being good. And that's cool. That's good enough for me. Running it back with Titans running back Hassan Haskins, who's in line to get the start now that Derrick Henry is doubtful for tomorrow night. Dontrell Hilliard is on IR. So Hassan Haskins at 4,900 is going to be a play that's going to probably be pretty chalk in most tournaments this weekend for that big slate. But luckily, this isn't one of those, so I'm running it. Secondary game stack, Chicago-Detroit, game that projects to be pretty high scoring, two not good defenses and two offenses that can put up points. I don't know if I'm calling the Bears a good offense right now, but that does play into my point in that the Lions just got gashed for, I think, 9 trillion rush yards against the Panthers last week.
Seems about right.
David Montgomery is basically the only guy left in the Chicago offense, with the exception of Khalil Herbert, who might be better than him, but that's beside the point. The Bears are staring down a real possibility of N'Keal Harry being the number one wide receiver this week, with both Chase Claypool and Equanimous St. Brown having not practiced today. So they might be trying to run the ball. Just pointing that out.
Seems like it.
Hashtag analysis. The Bears are going to run the ball. David Montgomery's caught 4 passes in each of the last 3 games, if I remember correctly. I can check that stat. Right now, he has caught at least 3 passes in each of the last 5 games, is what it is. So a little bit of a half PPR floor kind of deal. We're going to be running that back with DJ Chark on the other end of that game. Last couple spots, I've got Chris Godwin, who consistently gets double-digit targets, regardless of whether or not the Bucs are good. I still don't really know that answer, but what I do know is that the Bucs probably should go hurry up more often because they're actually good at it, and they're bad at doing the other things. So they're better when they throw the ball. They should throw the ball more often. I got Dalvin Cook as well in that game, against the Green Bay run defense that's definitely struggled this year. A game that should be close. Dalvin Cook, bell cow still as he enters his age 28 season. And then finally, we're going to leave with the defense. The defense that I think is a really good value at 3,800. That is a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that is set to give Tyler Huntley hell on Sunday Night Football. It is an important game. And as far as I know, it's looking like Huntley's lining up for another start this week. And if that's the case, this should be shaping up to be a pretty low-scoring affair and one where the Pittsburgh defense, especially because the run defense is quite good, should be able to wreak havoc on that Ravens offense as well. So that's my lineup this week. And that does it for FanDuel. Now we're going to move forward. And then move forward, we're going to look back at the year that was 2022. It is time for the official start of the 2022 Stovie Awards. And before we get into our main awards of the night, as we do, we've had the same set of awards for the last 3 years. We have some superlatives to give out. I don't know how many everyone else has. I have 5.
I have 6.
5
I have 4.
superlatives. Austin, do you
2.
have any? You have 2. Austin, since you've only got 2, why don't you give us the start? What are your superlatives for the year 2022?
All right. Here we go. For the 3rd year straight, we have the Galaxy Brain Butt Buddies of the Year award. And that's going to go to none other than 2 people on this show, me and Josh.
Wow, that's very meta.
Think about it this way. You create a show called Sharp or Stupid, where you're starting to bet on teams who are laughably bad and big dogs just because the numbers say so, just because enough people didn't bet on that team. But but some rich guy decided to throw $50K on that team. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's what we're talking about. That's the galaxy brain we're talking about. We're talking about, I'm saying Vegas is setting lines, so to use triple reverse psychoanalysis psychology on you to bet the fourth different way you were thinking of when you first looked at the game. I mean, this is what Galaxy Butt Buddies do, and it does nothing. It means nothing.
I mean,
it does nothing. We suck.
what about Mississippi
We'll
State
always
tonight?
suck.
Catching one at home against Bama? Sure! I wonder how that goes. Also, Arkansas wins by 2. Ha. Cash.
Dude, I'm telling you, this game's going to go down in history as the biggest fucking troll game of all time. I mean, the guy was laying on the ground with the ball in his hands, and they called a fumble, reviewed it, and then said, stands is called. Let's see a football game.
Yep.
No, it doesn't matter. This is what, Galaxy brains. Galaxy brains, sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. But at the end of the day, we're fucking stupid. And that's what it's about. And then I got an award really based off recent events called He Just Killed a Guy Award. Honorable mention going to Killian Hayes tonight. I don't know if anyone saw that. Franz something for the Magic.
Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner.
Was it Mo Wagner or was it Franz?
Wagner.
Wagner.
They're brothers.
They're brothers.
Franz?
Wagner.
I thought it was
I think
Mo.
it was Franz
Okay.
Wagner. Franz Wagner, not gonna lie, a pretty dirty little shove out of bounds for no reason. And then Killian Hayes didn't take it too kindly, walked up to him while he was facing the other way on the sideline and elbowed him in the back of the head and knocked him unconscious on the sideline.
Did you miss this, Mark?
Shot, by the way, that's not
Yeah,
even legal
I was
in
out.
professional fighting.
Yeah, I didn't see the video. I was out. I just saw.
Yeah,
I
no,
couldn't tell if Josh was being serious when he sent in the chat.
wasn't
Killian
good.
Hayes attempted murder. I thought he might have like.
I mean,
Yeah,
shot
it
him.
wasn't good. The players
At
of the
least a
Pistons
fight.
were like holding Franz back after he got shoved, and were like trying to keep him away. And then Killian Hayes just walked up, gave him the old poof, and then he just laid down in Pistons players' arms and was unconscious. So that was something. But He Just Killed the Guy was really created for Derwin James. Congratulations on a great hit. That's football. I was in a Bill Gray's tap room when it happened, let it be known, and the whole place erupted. They're football guys in there. They loved it. They were going nuts. They're going, oh, yeah, come on. And, we watched the slow-mo on replay, and then everyone goes, ooh.
Honorable mention also to Matt Milano for turning Mike White into a folding chair.
Yeah, I mean, that
was
I was more on the head injury for this award, but, I mean, yeah, that too.
Like that Matt Milano hit on Mike White is arguably the hardest legal hit you'll ever see in football.
Yep.
There was nothing dirty about it, and he turned him into a hot dog bun. I mean, it was absurd. It was crazy.
It was hot.
Yeah. All right, Mark, what do you got for superlatives this year?
So I added one, or I had switched some things in and out this year. I decided to add a team of the year, just the best team in sports this year. I'm giving that to the Georgia Bulldogs football team. National champions at the start of the year. They're going to win it again, in my opinion. I just think they're going to walk. I just think they're going to walk to the title this year. No one's coming close. So I'll give that to Georgia. Just a great year all around for that program. Biggest pleasant surprise of 2022. We're going to go back to March. We're going to go back to the four of us sitting in that very same tap room. And we're going to go to the St. Peter's Peacocks.
The Cox, yeah.
I mean, what a story. What a story. The St. Peter's Peacocks ended up being this year, making it to the Elite Eight. First time a 15 seed has ever done so. Well done. Representing the MAC well.
This year it's going to be QU. I'm calling it.
It's going to be QU this year. We all know
Go
it.
Bobcats.
They started off undefeated.
Yep.
The now second annual Urban Meyer Scumbag of the Year award. It's not Urban Meyer this year. Congratulations to Urban Meyer. He didn't. It was close. I almost wanted to give it to him again just because
It
he's
is
a
named
namesake.
after him now, though. So
But
that's the problem.
Antonio Brown exists. So we're going to give it to Antonio Brown. Just the variety of horrible things this man did this year. Whatever happened with that standoff he had with the police about a month ago, no one knows.
Malarkey.
All a load of bullshit surrounding Antonio Brown. Congratulations. You are now the second annual winner of the Urban Meyer Scumbag of the Year award. If Urban Meyer starts coaching again, expect him to take this award back next year. And Nunez, one that I know you and I have in common, the Twitter Idiot of the Year.
Yeah, let's just say that on my, it is the third annual Twitter Idiot of the Year.
Yes.
An award that I came up with that Mark grifted off of, but that's what
Yep.
And I admit
Sure.
it, but I love giving this award as well. In my opinion, there were a lot of great candidates, but there's only one true winner. Mr. Elongated Muskrat. The man who bought the app himself, Elon Musk. There's no bigger idiot in terms of Twitter this year, in my opinion.
It's true.
The
Was I in the
view
running?
count, you were not in the running. There was. It's funny. I had an award I gave last year. It was for the best new baseball podcast hosted by one of the members of Hot Stove. I considered giving this award to the other person, but I didn't. Mainly because I haven't seen his Twitter since what was that, May? I have no idea what's been on his Twitter since then. But so he was in the running for this, but I had to go with Mr. Musk, the man at the top of the food chain, and continues to post the unfunniest of memes and B, just harmful things all the time.
Yeah, I agree. I will go next, Josh, because I also have Twitter Idiot of the Year. And trust me, now that Aubrey Huff's account is back, he's sure to be heavy in the running.
Automatically in the running.
His second Twitter Idiot of the Year award come 2023. But because he's only had his account back for like 3 weeks,
Gotta let him get in and feel it out.
Right, exactly. He'll be, like I said, he'll be a finalist next year for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this year's Twitter Idiot of the Year for me goes to, I kept it in sports, and I kept it with the man that is known for a few things. He's known for writing. He's known for being in Scott Boris's pocket. He's known for writing silly things about how the Mets should be happy that Jacob deGrom doesn't play for their team anymore. And he's known now eternally for Arson Judge. And that just like, Mark is with us.
What a great
and that would be John Heyman. John Heyman, again, sure, he's a fine guy. And I actually don't have very many problems with him being all buddy with Scott Boras, who's a lot older, I realized, than I thought. I didn't know that Scott Boras was 70 until like a week ago.
Yeah, been around a long time.
But he has done some fun things this year on the old Twitter sphere. Again, forever ingrained into baseball meme culture will be Arson Judge. But behind that is the gross misuse of his journalistic abilities to jump a story that never happened. Aaron Judge not only said that was silly, but he made it a point to tell reporters during his press conference with the Yankees that not only was he not signing with the Giants at that time that the tweet was out, he was on a plane and there were no further talks in terms of advancing said deal because he was on a plane. So I don't know where that came from, but I think the bigger crime that John Heyman committed was proving me right in my quest to see how quickly a baseball reporter would write their think piece about how Jacob deGrom leaving was a good thing for the Mets. And it took John Heyman a total of 3 hours to publish that on the New York Post. So good for him. He is now the recipient of the third annual Twitter Idiot of the Year award. I have Yes, round of applause for
Bob
John
Nightingale
Hammond.
also in the running as well.
Yes, yeah, for numerous gaffes all over the place.
Mhm.
It's a very prestigious award. So now John Hammond joins the ranks of Aubrey Huff, and I believe last year the award went to every Baseball Writers Association of America member who openly posts their empty ballot on Twitter. So he joins those people.
Which
I have 4 more.
Heyman could be one of those guys eventually. He hasn't done it yet, but he could be.
Well, that's great. Good for him. I have 4 more for you. First, I have the win one for the nerds moment of the year, and that is Ross Chastain going in at the final lap of the NASCAR Cup Series Championship 4 this year and slamming on the gas and riding the wall to overtake the 2 cars in front of him, because that's something he did when he used to play video games on his GameCube. Not only did he learn that from gaming, he also set the record for the fastest lap ever at Martinsville Speedway with that maneuver. So score 1 for the gamers out there. Shout out to you, Ross Chastain. I have another one that is going to be the willing to fist fight over an Arby's beef and cheddar award. And that goes to Tennessee football fans after beating Alabama for ripping out their goalposts and throwing them into the Tennessee River. In a vacuum, it's very funny, and I actually don't have any problems with it. I just think college football fanatics, especially the people that don't go to the school, scare me. And they seem like the kind of people that would get into a fist fight at an Arby's.
Yep. Definitely.
So they get that award this year. I have another one that's going to be the Beer Shower of the Year award. And if it'll take us back to February 12th and 13th of 2022 at the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, Arizona, where fans on consecutive days rained beer down onto the 16th hole after Sam Ryder and Carlos Ortiz hit a couple of aces down there on the 16th. Incredible scenes. I feel bad for the people working the course that had to clean all the beer up, but that is our Beer Shower of the Year award. And then I have one final one that I will be calling the That Was Awesome, but Let's Never Do It Again award for 2022. And it'll take us all the way back to New Year's Day, 2022. A tradition unlike many others in sport. That would be the Winter Classic. This past year, it was played at Target Field in Minnesota. Again, it was a great game. It actually wasn't that great of a game, but it was a high-scoring game, 6-4. Wild versus the Blues, a great rivalry, great tributes to the past of the sport and pond hockey in Minnesota, and it was a great atmosphere. It was a lot of fun. There was one snag, though. At first puck drop at about 8 p.m. in Minneapolis, Minnesota in January, the temperature was -7, not including the wind chill. And it proceeded to get colder and colder and colder over the course of the game. I believe it ended somewhere around -15. So it was awesome. And it was really cool having the Winter Classic under the lights and doing that kind of thing. But let's never do that again, because that just seems like hell for everyone involved in it, generally speaking. So those are my superlatives for the year. Now, Josh, you've got some for us.
Yep. Popping a quick cough drop. Feeling a little, maybe a lozenge, as some might call. Yeah. Let me go to here first. I got a couple. I'll run through them real quick here. First, the clutch time moment of the year, brought to you by Leon Edwards and his roundhouse kick from the heavens in the 5th round against Kamaru Usman to win the middleweight championship. I mean, the thing of true stars right there. You're watching that, the fight, you know it's Kamaru's to lose in the 5th round. Bango! Right there. Fantastic. Clutch moment of the year. The best tennis GOAT retirement of the year goes to Roger Federer. This award, it was a tough. There was a tough competition here. First off, he's probably the only one that's going to stay retired. Second, he didn't cry about it and get a whole package done. Well, he did cry about it actually, but good for him. Props to Roger going out on top. Darth Fed. I don't even really remember the other one, so this is This guy really deserved it throughout his entire career, illustrious career. Truly one of the greats to ever help the game. The other one, I mean, I don't even know.
I don't.
Next,
I don't. What was her name? I know. I know it was a female player. I don't remember who.
Just a female? What were you gonna say, Mark?
I said a female player. Like
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. I have the Even a Blind Squirrel Finds a Nut once award. It's Big Poppy being a first ballot Hall of Famer and then finally getting something right. What? No, it's the baseball writers.
No,
getting
he's
something right.
congratulating the baseball writers. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
you.
The fuck
I
is
thought
that?
you were saying. I thought you were saying Big Poppy getting in first ballot was a blind squirrel finding a nut.
No. I'm like, what do you mean? We're
No,
good.
no,
That was a good one.
We're good. We're good.
Sticking with baseball here, this is the best senior citizen in a professional sport. Congratulations to 73-year-old Albert Pujols for finally hitting home run numbers 100. Congrats to him and his family. Two more. I have the You're Invited to the Cookout Award. That goes to Kirk Cousins for his celly and the greatest comeback of all time in the NFL. So shout out to you, Kirk. Yeah. Just don't bring any food. They got it. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to see your wife try and make some potato salad. Leave it at the house. And finally, the best 13 seconds in sports goes to the final 13 seconds of the AFC Championship game this year, in which the Kansas City Chiefs were able to, knock out the Buffalo Bills. And that's my favorite 13 seconds of the year. I'll tell you that. So there you go.
All right.
That's mine.
So let's get in. That is certified hater, but it was also incredible scenes.
I mean, can you think of a better 13 seconds? I can't.
I can't. I can think of a better 9 seconds last night of Luka lighting up the Knicks, but
this is true.
I had a pretty good 9 seconds last night myself.
I don't get it.
Mr. Iron Man over here, all the way to 9 seconds.
We're going to get into the awards proper here, and we're going to start with the negative. Let's get the negative out of the way so we can get into the positive. Our first award of the night is the LVP, the least valuable person in sports in 2022. If anybody has any burning submissions, feel free. Yes, Mark.
There are 2 awards that I'm giving out this year that will go to the one person until it isn't. This is one of them. It's Rob Manfred again. It will always be Rob Manfred. It was Rob Manfred last year. It'll be Rob Manfred next year, probably.
Yeah.
Did shit with the baseballs again. Good job, Rob. Just can't leave it alone.
Even after everyone figured out he was doing stuff with the baseballs.
Yeah, everyone knew.
He went back to it.
And then he just did it again. Except this time there weren't 2 balls, Austin. He said, he was very clear, there were not 2 different baseballs. That's because there were 3. There were 3 this time. He added another one. He had an extra juiced one, a dead one, and then the Goldilocks ball, which is just juiced enough. And they used it in all of the Yankee games so Aaron Judge could break the American League record. Congratulations, Rob. Get a new job. Please, for the love of God, get out of my favorite sport. It's infuriating every year to wait for Dr. Meredith Wills to come out with a study and be like, guess what? They did it again. Boo.
Boo indeed. Boo indeed.
All right.
I'll run it up here quick. I'm not quite as adamant about mine, but props to you, Mark. Wait, did you have a second one? Did you say you were giving out 2 awards?
No, that's
his second award.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
My least valuable. It's a pretty hot topic these days. Just happened here. It's Nathaniel Hackett. This guy was the type of bad that gets you sent back to college, and not in the good. Matt Rule. Shout out to Matt Rule. That guy sucked, and he just went to Nebraska, got the best job in college sports you could probably it's gonna be available, and nobody hates him. They're like, hey, it just didn't work out. You suck. We'll trade the team. Team's bad. But you go to a team that's supposed to be good, and you suck worse than Matt Rule. You fucking suck. I don't know where he goes after this.
I'll say this is the kind of coaching job that lands you at like UTEP.
This
defensive coordinator at UTEP, even though he's an offensive guy. Like it just completely changes his career.
He's going to be coaching at that place that Sean Payton went and coached while he was on the Bounty Gate scandal from home team this year. He's going to go
That
coach high school ball.
team.
Yeah. Really just get back to the basics, pick and roll, deep post, stuff like that. Nathaniel Hackett's my LVP.
All right. Austin, what about you?
My LVP this year, I mean, you could really say this for the past decade, right? My LVP, though, is Dan Snyder. With every month, seemingly, more abuse, more sexual harassment claims coming out on him, on people in his organization, people he works closely with. Seems like this guy's he's just an animal. But the reason I picked it for this year was because he made an announcement that he's starting the whatever progression is needed to begin to sell the team. And sooner or later, he'll be out of the NFL, and we'll be all better for it. This guy's just a scumbag, and can't wait to see him gone and see that franchise benefit from him being gone.
Yeah, I think he would have been also a good submission for wealthiest criminal in sports this year as well. So that would have been fun. My LVP is actually a group of people. Some in name, some in nebulous organization. That goes to my least valuable persons of 2022 goes to former chairman of FIFA, Sepp Blatter, current chairman of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and the entire FIFA governing board for allowing the 2022 World Cup to commence in Qatar. And it's not just an issue that came upon this year. It's an issue that started a decade ago, where brokers from France magically received billions of dollars worth of fighter jets for their military. And in return, Qatar, one of the smallest nations in Africa, one of the smallest nations in the Middle East, one of the smallest nations in the world, was granted the World Cup in 2022. And they followed it up by using slave labor to build their stadiums, leading to the death of thousands of Qatari citizens and thousands of migrant workers, leading to the persecution of LGBTQ people in and around the country and any who came to observe the games, holding these games in a nation that can only be described as backwards in their views on gay people, women, people who hold different religious beliefs from them. And it led to not only the deaths of workers, it led to the deaths of thousands of workers. And it was like watching a slow motion car crash, in the fact that as soon as the game started, there was nothing that could be done about it. And it didn't matter, because Gianni Infantino in particular has spent the last 5 years just on his knees, going to bat for Sepp Blatter and the decisions that they made, talk about how this was going to unite the world in football, and everyone should stop talking about the politics, and everyone should just focus on the football. Well, guess what? That's what happened. That's what happened. Everyone focused on the football. Good job. You got it done. You got thousands of people killed. You took billions of dollars from the Qatari government, and this is what happened. The only thing that we can possibly have is that this is a lesson for this kinds of things moving forward, that if these kinds of practices continue, then people will continue to die and people will continue to suffer in these conditions. But that easily nets Gianni Infantino, Sepp Blatter, and the rest of the mafioso group known as FIFA, nets them the award for least valuable persons of the year in 2022, and arguably least valuable persons in sport for the entirety of the last 12 years or so, at the very least, since Qatar was granted this bid back way back a decade ago. So next up is going to be the Diamond in the Rough Award, a time where we highlight something that may have gone unnoticed, something, a rising tide, maybe even something we're looking forward to in 2023. Mark, why don't you start with your Diamond in the Rough Award winner?
So mine, it wasn't a diamond in the rough when it happened, and it hasn't been considered one since, but it was a diamond in the rough before it happened. And that is 80-1 going into the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike, the horse that no one cared about, the longest odds in the Kentucky Derby, an afterthought to horse gamblers, winning the whole goddamn thing.
Mark had money on Rich Strike. I was there with him. Did he have money on every other horse? Maybe.
I did. I had money on every horse, but Rich Strike was one of them. So I came out ahead.
Yeah.
That was my thing for betting horses this year, was just bet every horse. And listen.
I'm sorry. That's the worst strategy unless a long shot wins. That's the dumbest thing you can do.
Listen, I don't gamble on horse racing. Like outside of the Triple Crown, I'll normally pick like one of the favorites in one long shot, and then this year I just said fuck it. But was in 16th place going into the final turn. Turned it up as much as you could and won the whole frickin' race. Nunez was with me when I bet on it. We weren't together for the Derby because I had to work that night. I was working a Syracuse Mets game, and I happened to start doing an update as the Derby was ending. So it's like, we're getting into the home stretch of the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike, the 80-1 shot. I was actually able to call it. It's one of the coolest memories I've had, broadcasting anything, was just doing a live play-by-play of the last 30 seconds of the Kentucky Derby. Awesome event. And it doesn't get much more diamond in the rough at the time than an 80-1 shot winning the Derby.
Absolutely. We're going to keep with the same order. So Josh, why don't you hit us with the Diamond in the Rough award?
Right. Mine last year was kind of like a person to watch. The Diamond in the Rough. You see him now, and they're coming. So this is more of an on look. There's not quite the breakout athlete. He's not that level, but this is the Diamond in the Rough. I talked about him earlier with the Fed and him retiring, and the Swiss need their new superstar. Look out for Marc-André Huesler. Okay, he's cracked into the top 60 on the ATP Tour. He won one of the last 3 events they did after the U.S. Open. He's my guy next year. Brooksby was the great American hope, and he's dead to me. He stinks. His serve still sucks, and he's dead. He's in the top 50 somehow. They're throwing that guy a bone. Okay? He's terrible. I'm out on Brooksby for a little bit. He's too hot. You know, he caught fire. He got mainstream, and now I'm done. It's like you follow a grunge band, they grow big, and then you hate them. So I'm out. Brooksby, dead to me for a little bit. Huesler is the guy. Marc-André Huesler.
What?
All right. Austin, why don't you give us your award?
I feel like this is the easiest Diamond in the Rough we've had of all time, and it's Geno Smith. This guy was dead. He was dead in the water. He was the worst quarterback of all. He was the worst quarterback of all time. Everybody said he sucked. He's terrible. He shouldn't even be in the league. He shouldn't even be a backup anywhere. And he comes out this season, and not only does he play good for a stretch, he's just been good the entire season. He's just been a good quarterback. The Seahawks were supposed to win 2 games. They were supposed to go 2-15, be the worst team in the league. They're fighting for a playoff spot right now.
Well, let's just remember, Austin, the world wrote him off. He ain't right back.
He didn't right back. He didn't
It's
right
very
back.
simple.
That's as simple as that. That's all I got to say. He didn't right back.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick, depending on your perspective. You know, Austin was looking back. Some of us are looking forward, right? I'm doing a little bit of a fence sitting here with my Diamond in the Rough award. It's actually going to be similar vein to Josh's award winner, and that's going to be my Diamond in the Rough is the rising tides of the next stars in men's tennis internationally. So I think the men's tennis slate was due for a little bit of turnover at the top in particular after going into the last couple of years, right? You know, Nadal and Djokovic still at a super high level. Federer, when he plays, still at a high level. You know, the big three, arguably the 3 greatest men's tennis players of all time, still active all at the same time, playing at a high level. But at some point, we have to turn those chains over, right? And I understand that Rafael Nadal still sits at number 2 in the ATP Top 100. So he's very relevant. Him and Djokovic are still very, very relevant in this time. But there's a handful of names that I feel, even outside of like the Medvedevs and the Zverevs, right? There's a handful of names that really threw themselves onto the scene this year. You can go up and down the list of the ATP rankings, right? The youngest ATP #1 in the history of the list, Carlos Alcaraz. You have Casper Ruud. Josh just wrote it in the chat here.
That was my guess of your number.
Yeah. No, it's a group. It's a group of people that I'm talking about. It's Alcaraz. Is it Rudd or Ruud? Do you know?
Ruud. I say Ruud, but I think it's Rudd. I don't know.
Okay, Casper Rudd. You have Titty Pasta, who's still only 24 years old.
Titty Pasta.
You have Felix Auger Aliassime, with a Canadian guy.
Aliassime.
That guy.
That's awesome.
Aliassime, that's how you pronounce it. You've got Taylor Fritz. You've got big years from Nick Kyrgios. You have a big year from Francis Tiafoe as well. Big foe.
Big foe. Love
plenty of rising tides of younger men's tennis players who not only are proving themselves on a very high stage, but in a good portion of them, these guys are really, really marketable in that kind of way. You know, you have in one way or another, right? You have Alcaraz, who can just be seen as like baby Nadal, like he's the guy to take over, right? You have guys like Tiafoe, you know, huge Americans with super powerful swings. You have the shit talkers like Nick Kyrgios, who get on a lot of people's nerves, but also bring an energy to the tour that's not seen very often. I think it's a really exciting time for this new era of like men's tennis stars to be rising up, and they're going to be on the watch list for this upcoming year in the sport.
Oh
yeah. Speaking of events in sports, next up, overall sporting event of the year. We're gonna give our pick for what was the best scenes. What were the biggest moments? Not the biggest moments, but the biggest events overall. Mark, why don't you get us started?
I almost want to change mine after your LVP rant. I've got the World Cup final written down here. Actually, you know what? I am gonna change it because I stand with Zach Nunez.
I will say the World Cup final this year was absolutely incredible.
Like, it was amazing.
It was great. It was fantastic.
It was legit one of the best sporting events I've ever watched. But I'm going to stick in the same vein. And for me, that means men's soccer. And that means Syracuse University winning the NCAA men's soccer tournament.
Sure.
Listen,
I watched that game.
It was legitimately also a great game. I'm not going to, it wasn't World Cup final level of a great soccer game. It was an awesome game. Down to the wire, also went to penalty kicks. I think it went to 7 or 8 penalty kicks for either side, too. It was like really back and forth the entire way. I watched the entirety of that game. You know how much it takes for me to watch the entirety of a soccer game? I don't really like the sport. It was amazing to watch this. Same with the World Cup final. The World Cup final was amazing, like start to finish. I watched that as well. Yeah. But I'm gonna in solidarity with Nunez and the absolute atrocities that happened getting the World Cup in Qatar. I'm going to switch to Syracuse University taking home a national title in soccer.
Yep. Yeah, good on you, Mark. Good on you. I won't. I prepared far too much of a bit for this. I mean, you want to talk about a fucking burial? Good Christ. I did a whole thing. I have a whole thing written out. So mine's the World Cup. I mean, it's incredible. I texted Austin during this. I'm like, wow, he's going on a pretty big rant here. This is going to bury my whole thing. It's dead. We're going to try it. We're going to do it anyways, I basically said that the World Cup, it feels like Stefan should have told us about this event. It feels like Stefan should have told us about this event. Because if you're some dumb folks looking to just get murdered, the World Cup is your event. Located in the asshole of the world. Needless to say, this place has everything. It has little immigrant people working themselves to death. America's going to be there, and they won't embarrass themselves. A journalist will suddenly die after bashing the event, and the whole thing will be rigged for some old Latino man. Spicy! World
Look,
Cup.
man.
What more could you want in an event?
Look, nothing I said can take away from the fact that the World Cup final, at the very least, was unbelievable sports theater. Truly.
Yeah.
And there were great moments to be had through all of it. You know, Morocco becoming the first African nation to reach a World Cup semifinal. The U.S. not embarrassing themselves. That was good, right?
I mean, yeah, honestly,
the win
you're
by
right.
Saudi Arabia in the group stage over Argentina. Like, there were great moments all throughout.
It is all just corporate bullshit and like definitely corrupt garbage. But yeah, I mean, they put on a good show. I mean, if you're gonna kill people for it, make it worth it. And boy, did they! So, go World Cup, go FIFA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just funny too. I mean, burial, absolute burial. It literally word for word things that you were saying were disgusting. I tried to make humorous. I mean, it was bad. Yeah.
All right, Austin, why don't you hit us with your sporting event of the year?
I hate you.
Well, I had a thing planned, but let's just keep it going. I mean, I had the World Cup final as my event of the year. Just clearly one of the best sporting events I've ever seen. The back and forth, the nail biting. I couldn't imagine being a fan of one of these teams, having a gun to your head the entire game. So, yeah, for me that was the event of the year. There's not much to add on to what Josh said. So there you go.
Austin, please do the bit. I need to know what the bit was.
No bits. No bits.
All right. I actually, funnily enough, didn't consider the World Cup final as my sporting event of the year. I did originally consider the 2022 Winter Games, the Olympic Games that happened this past year. That was something I thought of, but I decided to go with another tennis pick. I'm going to go with the 2022 Australian Open as my sports event of the year. Had great moments up and down. You had Ash Barty, the world number one, winning the whole thing and then retiring, becoming the first Australian to win a major in 44 years, I believe it was. And then just hanging it up at the age of 25. And then on the men's side, you have a truly classic final between Nadal and Medvedev. It's something that we were exactly, Josh. It was something that we were sweating to the max. A match that started at like 3:30 in the morning. Nadal drops the first two sets, and I told these guys, I said, "Fuck it, I'm going to bed." And I wake up, and Rafael Nadal was Australian Open champion. He had broken the record. He stood alone for Grand Slam victories after that morning, and we won a couple $100 on it.
Yeah,
those couple weeks were those like 2 weeks there were 2 weeks that truly got me to start enjoying the sport of tennis as well, and I think they were filled with some great theater. Again, the U.S. Open would have been another great pick as well.
Yep.
The great theater going on there. Again, Kyrgios, Big Foe, Alcaraz, truly rising to the top there at the end as well. Yes, Josh.
No, I was just saying, really, just not Wimbledon. Wimbledon, not because of
just
the
not
theater,
Wimbledon.
but, I mean, just the the bullshit that went around the event this year that kind of tarnished it. But the play was good. The event play was good. Ralph was just being hurt, and the final was a fun one. So, but yeah,
good year for tennis.
Yep, it was. It was really good. Men's tennis, yeah. Women's tennis was just the passing of the guard from Barty to Swiatek, and she was able to, continue her dominance. So,
yep. All right. Unfortunately, we do have to try back into the negatives here, and that brings us to the biggest disappointment of the year. The thing that we thought was going to be good that wasn't good. Mark, why don't you start?
I'm gonna mention a football team here, not the one that Josh mentioned earlier. It's not the Denver Broncos. It's the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I've been saying for a while that Cliff Kingsbury is not a very good head coach. Turns out he's even worse than I thought he was. This team is an absolute joke. And I know Kyler is hurt now, and that sucks. They were a joke when Kyler was healthy, and they were a joke when DeAndre Hopkins came back. When everything was supposed to start going right for the Cardinals, nothing was going right. This team is just not good. And the most disappointing fact of it all is they probably still won't fire Cliff Kingsbury. And they will probably try to run this back in some capacity next year, not having the self-awareness to know that nothing going on there is going to work right now. That's the most disappointing part of it, because I think you're wasting the start of a career in Kyler Murray, that a guy that has the potential, in my opinion, to be one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL, and they're just wasting every second of it. That Kingsbury is still around. I know they fired the GM, which is good. That's a good start, but everything around the Cardinals is a disappointment.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine, I went with one of the more popular, draws this year, but I don't think it lived up very well. It's the Live Golf Tour. There'll be no competent rival to the PGA. They're simply too powerful of a being to be taken down, and regardless of all the blood money that goes into it,
not even the Saudi blood money can take down the PGA.
Right. I mean, regardless of all the corruption that goes along with them, talk about, whatever, Greg Norman being all, corrupt as well. They just couldn't do it. I don't think it. I didn't watch a single tournament that Liv put on. I didn't care to put in. I think everything I
watched
heard
the
about,
first one.
Like everything I heard about Live Tour was like, it always made me be like, oh, that's cool. But I never knew when things were going on. I never, like, the idea of a team aspect of something was like kind of intriguing to me. Never heard about anything. It's just poorly run. Not enough star power, which is like their whole thing was star power. They couldn't convince anybody to take blood money that's worth it, and I think it just flops. Like, I don't know how the Live Tour lasts for the next 5 years. Even I don't know. I think it's dead in the water. So the Live Tour is a real disappointment.
All right. Well, I got a whole brand of something here, and that's all of Detroit sports. What a fucking sham. Are you fucking kidding me? The Tigers, they're winning 80 games this year. This is their year. They're gonna be borderline playoff team. That look at all the terrible. They're terrible. The worst offense in the entire fucking league. They couldn't score 3 runs a game. They suck. They're awful. They're gonna be awful for another decade. Don't get it twisted. Oh, the Pistons, Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham. This is it. They're a playoff team. Everyone bet them to make the playoffs. They're worst team in the NBA. They're the worst team in the NBA. Cade's hurt now, so everyone's, it's just Cade's out. No, they sucked when Cade was playing. They suck now. They suck. It's over. Oh, the Lions have won 5 straight. They're 7-7. They're making the play. No, they're not. They get blown out by the Panthers. They're going to lose 2 at the end of the season. They're not making the playoffs. Detroit sports sucks. Oh, well, the Red Wings. I've been hearing about the Red. I'm not even an NHL fan. I've been hearing about the Red Wings for 5 years about they're building young talent. They're making the turn. They're 9th in the East right now. Is that good? Is that good? Is that what we want? Is that it? That's what Detroit sports is looking for? Their best team is the 9th best team in their conference? Detroit sports is a joke. It'll always be a joke. They're done. Hang it up. Move the franchises, all of them. Who cares? It's over.
Yeah, I mean, mine is a pretty easy lay, and that's the Denver Broncos. I kind of thought that there was really no way it couldn't be the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, outside of the Colts, have been they're a quarterback away team for like the last 3 years. So what do? They make the swing. They did the thing that more teams should do, which is go big, right? You pair a young defense that has been fantastic this year, by the way. It's not their fault. I can tell you that much. And you pair it with a quarterback who coming into this year, we can have the conversation as to whether or not he's squandering it, but coming into this year was one of the best quarterbacks of the last decade plus. Possible case to be a Hall of Famer. Still arguably in his physical prime. He's only in his early 30s. That should be the thing, right? That should be the thing that makes them a real contender in the AFC. And they have been the dumpster fire in the NFL this year. They've been the laughing stock of the NFL this year. Russell Wilson, we're in the last 2 weeks of the season. Russell Wilson still doesn't have as many touchdowns as he does bathrooms in his home currently. That is still a real number. Their backup quarterback is getting into arguments with their offensive line on the sideline during the game. Their coach, I'm not convinced Nathaniel Hackett was a real person. I'm going to be honest with you. We might have made him up.
Yeah.
Like,
Did
everything has gone wrong.
Did everyone
that-
not agree that was a bad hire when it happened? Right? Like, wasn't everyone like, "What did this guy do?"
I said before the season that my favorite bet of the year was Broncos under 9.5. I said they were not going to be good.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being confused.
Yeah, like Aaron Rodgers' boy. Is that why?
Yeah, that's why they hired him. Yes, so they could try to get Rodgers. He wasn't a good offensive coordinator. He worked at Syracuse. I remember watching him as the offensive coordinator. He was terrible in college. He was terrible in the NFL because his experience before having Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback was the offensive coordinator for the Bills and Jaguars under Doug Marrone. Those offensive juggernauts they had in Buffalo and Jacksonville under Doug Marrone.
This wasn't the David Garrard. I'm just saying words.
But like, no, he was a horrible hire at the time. He will never be a head coach in the NFL again. I don't know if he should be an offensive coordinator in the NFL again. He's not good.
Side note, remember Jake Locker?
Yeah.
Sure.
Shout out to Jake Locker.
Shout out Jake Locker.
That was just the thought I had. All right, move back into the positives here. We're going to be talking sports moment of the year. What was the favorite thing, the favorite time that you had watching sport this year?
I'm going to go back to March Madness. I mentioned St. Peter's earlier. Coach K losing to UNC again was an absolute thing of beauty. Not only did they lose in the ACC tournament to their rival UNC, they run it back. NCAA tournament. It's the Final Four. Coach K's on his magical run to leave on top with a title. And UNC, Hubert Davis, just do it again. Absolute thing of beauty. To see Coach K walk off that court after losing to his arch rival twice in the same season was one of the best things I've ever seen in sports. I know I'm wearing the Duke Royal Blue on my tie and in my pocket square. It's not in support of the Blue Devils. It's just because I like this bow tie. And it was absolutely beautiful. I loved every second of it.
See, I was thinking about a superlative before the started for biggest tragedy of the year, and that was possibly an honorable mention for that. Right up there with Vince Scully. I mean, that's how much that sucked for me. That was bad. I was on Duke all 3 times.
I was gonna say, I wonder why.
Yeah. My what is it? Moment of the year has already been mentioned at one point in a superlative, but they may fight each other for a beef and cheddar. But watching the redneck fucks of Tennessee throw a goalpost through the bottom of the thing, tear it down, and walk it through the streets of Tennessee and chuck it in a river was the best moment of the year. I mean, I honestly don't know the last time I was following something strictly on Twitter like that, like after the game being like, oh shit, where's it going? Where is it now? What's going on? I mean, I was on poll watch for an hour and a half after the game to see it get chucked into a river. That thing was electric. I loved it. I mean, I'm with you. I don't share the love of college sports as a Northerner. I'm a Yankee. I won't get it. God, something about those that's fun. That gets me bricked up. So
How
shouts
about
out to those
the
fans.
Alabama fans then deciding that they were going to create a conspiracy that the goalpost was too narrow to make a field goal in? And that's why the Tennessee fans stormed the field and tore it down and took it out of the stadium.
That makes sense.
That's some
How
delusion.
about Tennessee feeling the need to start a GoFundMe so their fans could pay for a new goalpost?
Yeah, I mean that's sick.
You want to talk about bootlicker? I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, especially the people who went to the school and are paying hundreds of $1,000s in loans to then pony up and
Yep.
pie up a new goalpost to the people shelling out. I mean, millions of dollars in NIL deals from donors. They couldn't pay $90,000 for a goalpost. Suck me, fucking stupid SEC. I hate that. Can't stand that.
No, I mean, I don't know. This seems like the clear moment of the year, though. I mean, hear me out. Messi winning his first World Cup. Everything surrounding it. Argentina fans all around the world. You've probably seen a million videos. Those people freaking going nuts, crying. It's the biggest thing for all of those people, including Messi. It had to be the biggest moment in all of sports this entire year.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly up there. We had some great moments in sports this year. I technically have 3. I cheated a little bit, but they're in a group together. The moment of the year for me comes from 3 of the greatest to ever play their sports entering the hallowed halls of some of the most exclusive clubs in the history of their sport. We have 3 of them. We have Miguel Cabrera getting his 3,000th hit after what seemed like an eternity of him sitting at 2,999. Truly one of the most beloved players in baseball today. And after he runs his final season this upcoming year in 2023, we'll be seeing him in Cooperstown in a very short time. One of the many milestones that Miguel Cabrera hit in his career, and the most emphatic one out there. Also in baseball, again, we mentioned already, Albert Pujols hitting career home run number 700, the ever-exclusive 700 club, for, again, one of the most beloved figures and one of the best players that the sport has ever seen. Another player that we'll be seeing in Cooperstown in a very short time, after his retirement this past year. And the most recent one, Alexander Ovechkin, not only becoming the 3rd player in NHL history to reach 800 career goals, but subsequently in the following couple of days, passing Gordie Howe as the 2nd all-time in goals. He's now at 802 goals over the course of his career, and we are officially on history watch here with Alexander Ovechkin. He sits at 36 years old, 37 at this point, 37 years old, and 92 goals behind Wayne Gretzky for the NHL's all-time lead. So that was a true moment again for a stalwart of a franchise. I mean, all 3 of these players are not only iconic and fantastic, but are iconic for the teams that they play for. Even though, Miggy and Pujols had played for other teams over the course of their career. Obviously, when Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols enter the Baseball Hall of Fame, they will go in as Tigers and Cardinals, respectively. And when Alexander Ovechkin eventually hangs it up, he will be known as one of the few players who stuck around for that long with one franchise, and is one of the true singular icons of a franchise in a sport. So those 3 combined for the sporting moment of the year for me. We're going to move on here to our second to last award. And that is going to be Breakout Athlete of the Year. Now, I just wanted to bring up the 2 athletes that I had in the last 2 years, because this thing can swing wildly, right?
Yeah.
Last year, Jonathan Taylor was my breakout athlete of the year. I still think he's got a very bright future ahead of him. Blah, blah, blah. Great player, right? You know what my pick was for the 2020 breakout athlete of the year? Does anybody remember?
No, I don't.
It was one Kyle Trask, quarterback for the then Florida Gators.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Old takes exposed.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Kyle Trask was my breakout player of the year in 2020, but that doesn't matter. It's time for the 2022 award. So, Mark, who is it?
Just quickly going back to your Alex Ovechkin thing, there was an article written by Larry Brooks. Headline: Ovechkin's unabashed Putin support clouds his pursuit of NHL history. Now, Larry Brooks works for the New York Post, the same publication as one Twitter Idiot of the Year, John Heyman, and of course, Mr. Heyman had to quote tweet it. So we've got another one in the running for Mr. Heyman this year. Gretzky will always be the greatest. As for Ovechkin, let's just look away. Larry Brooks with a great column. Just throwing that out there.
Interesting.
Heyman with another beauty. My breakout athlete has already been mentioned in this very show, and we go to the world of men's tennis, and that is ATP #1 U.S. Open champion Carlos Alcaraz. Now, he was, Josh, you might have to correct, he was good before this year.
Yeah, he's my honorable mention because of that. It's just kind of it's tricky, but I get it. I'll
was
I'll
good.
respect it.
But
Yes.
this was the coming out party. This was, okay, he is baby Nadal. He is the next
It was the
great
coronation.
Yeah, it was the coronation of Carlos Alcaraz as the next great Spanish men's tennis player and maybe the next great men's tennis player. It was amazing watching him this year from years, the start of the year all the way up to the end. I can't wait to watch this kid, mature as a tennis player, to get even better likely as a tennis player. He's still only 20?
19.
He was 19 when he
I didn't know if he had
20,
turned 20. So 19, 20 years old. I mean, the guy is an absolute machine. This was the easiest one for me. Still 19. This was the easiest one for me. Oh, wow. Just thinking about it, I was like, I can't think of anyone that broke out harder than Carlos Alcaraz this year. So that's my pick.
That's a good one. May I share my screen for a second?
Of course.
Yes.
Can I do that? I was lucky enough to see this. I gave it to kind of a team of people for my breakout athlete, and I was able to actually see them in person this year with Austin. And so my breakout athlete of the year has to go to the Providence College dance team. That's my breakout athlete of the year. By far, these women are electric. Okay, I don't want to hear anything else about cheerleaders or about anything like that. The dance teams have taken over the universities. Okay, I mean, just feeling like I'm a follower. By the way, did I not like this post? I like it. Back from August 10th, some weirdos just going through liking old posts. Who cares? I love it. I can't get enough of the dance teams. Absolutely, go give PC Dance Team a follow on the Instagram. Only 2,000 followers is a goddamn disgrace to the university and everyone for not promoting them. I mean, dance teams are the next coming of age. I'm telling you, it's enough of the cheerleaders, enough of everything else. Dance teams are the future. Syracuse too. When I went to the game, Syracuse cheerleaders. I mean, I could be a fucking Syracuse cheerleader. Throw a wig on me and I'll fucking go flying. Dance team. Dance teams. Breakout.
Bonk.
All right.
I'm giving you a very public bonking.
Based is good.
Based
Or
take.
based to the bonk or based to me?
No, base to you.
Based
Or
to you.
bonk to you.
Based to you.
Bonk
Bonk to you, but based to you.
Excellent. Based
Bonked is based. All right. My guy, someone I thought Mark was gonna say, but his answer is probably better than mine. But tennis is tennis, so who cares? And that's Julio Rodriguez, becoming the face of a franchise, a playoff team. He became the face of a playoff team in his rookie year, and someone you're expecting to be a great player for a decade to come. I mean, it's pretty crazy to do. I mean, even someone, there's been great rookies over and over again, but they don't consume a fan base the way that he has and consume the MLB the way he had for a couple months there. I mean, he's just an exceptional player, and you can't wait to see what he's got to do going forward, to be honest.
Julio's a great.
Julio's a great pick, but I think Julio lumps in with the Alcaraz group here, and that Julio Rodriguez had expectations, right? Number one prospect in baseball, seen as the next wunderkind, and watching him have a great rookie season in helping the Mariners reach their first postseason berth in 21 years. Obviously, fantastic scenes. I went with a guy who, this man's good. All right, this man's really good. This man is not only really good, but this man seemed to have come out of nowhere the second half of last season, in a time where his team needed him most. And that is one Desmond Bain of the Memphis Grizzlies. Remember this whole thing, second half of last season, where John Morant was injured and the Grizzlies were the best team in the NBA without him? That was due in no small part to the emergence of the playmaking ability and the scoring ability of Desmond Bain. His scoring average doubled between his rookie season in 2020 to his sophomore season last year. And this year, it has continued to rise. He's a career 43% from behind the arc. This man has an effective field goal percentage of 56% as a shooting guard. Is pretty damn high. Is proven to be one of the best complementary players in the NBA, and was a true star for the second half of last season into the postseason last year, and was part of that run that Memphis had into the second round of the postseason. And as he gotten even better coming into his third season in the NBA, he's up to 22 and a half points in per game this year. I don't know why those words were just escaping me. But Desmond Bain, it was my pick. Again, I wanted to go with a guy who kind of felt like he came out of nowhere almost. And Desmond Bain embodied that for me here in 2022. Now it's time for our final award of the night. I don't know if anybody else differs, but I almost feel like there may be some unanimity on the answer here. Mark, I know that you and I have the same answer. I'm almost certain of it.
Is it the same one you had last year?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. Last year it was unanimous, and that it was Shohei Ohtani last season.
I once again have Shohei Ohtani. It's Shohei Ohtani until it isn't. In my opinion, just the guy literally does everything. Listen, the season Aaron Judge had was great. He was absolutely deserving of winning the AL MVP. I will never say that he wasn't. Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball, in my opinion, best athlete on the planet right now.
See, we take this thing a little bit differently here, because similar to some MVP awards, some kind of awards, Athlete of the Year is very much a narrative award on the Stovie Awards. And to me, now we're going a little bit out of order here. To me, no athlete held such a compelling narrative in 2022 as Aaron Judge. Not only beyond the season that he had, breaking the American League home run record, doing it for one of the most visible sports franchises on the planet, right? Cementing himself as the undoubtable, arguably the most popular player in baseball, at least in America. I mean, he's the face of the sport as it sits right now. And then his ability to capture our hearts in a truly methodical free agent display over the last month and a half. No one controlled sports narratives this year quite like the very tall man who got veneers and now his teeth look good, that plays in the Bronx and will be playing in the Bronx for the remainder of his career. No one controlled the narrative, and no one had the
captain. They gave him the captainship.
Yes, they gave him the captainship. He's now the captain of the New York Yankees. Whatever that means, I don't really care. But
pretty good company.
Aaron Judge is my pick. Josh, Austin, what about you guys?
I said, you care, kid? You want to go next? You want me?
Yeah. I'll go, because I forgot to mention my honorable mention for biggest disappointment of the year, and that's Aaron Judge. Loser in the playoffs, doesn't show up, Stinky player. Greatest athlete of the
Isaiah
year.
Kiner-Falefa, more playoff hits than Aaron Judge this year. It's just a
Talk about a
fact.
burial.
Yeah. Can't possibly be the greatest athlete of the year because he stunk when it mattered the most, and he will continue. And he's already 45 years old, so he might retire next year, anyways. So,
Hey, man, he's from California.
my
He's not
athlete
from
of the
Cuba.
year is going to be a pretty chalk pick. It's going to be Stephen Curry. Winning his first Finals MVP, winning the championship on a pretty freaking bum team. Let's be real. Everyone wants to say the Warriors are stacked. They suck. Warriors suck. Curry was playing on an elevated level. Starting this NBA season as well in 2022, he was playing at an exceptional level on MVP pace. He got hurt again. He'll be out for a couple weeks. I expect him to get back to that pace again. I mean, to me, it's just he's not the best athlete in a way that's like he's actually the best athlete. Aaron Judge is probably a better athlete. Ohtani's a better athlete. But the way that Stephen Curry does it, his intelligence, his ability to make everybody better around him and win championships, I don't know. I got to give it to him. And he finally got his achievement of winning his Finals MVP. It seems like he really pulled it all together. He pulled his whole legacy together in this last year.
Yeah, I mean, and it's unparalleled. We're watching one of the best players in basketball history unfold. A still fantastic career right in front of our eyes. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll go with my honorable mention first, and this one goes to the 22-year-old Norwegian football prodigy Erling Haaland. This guy is a fucking psycho on the pitch.
Is this the guy that scores like 3 goals a game?
He's got 18. He's got 2 hat tricks this year. He's got 18 goals in 13 matches.
No, he's now up to 20 goals in 14 matches.
Jesus Christ!
He's
gonna break it. He's gonna break the most goals in the season. He said 14. He's got 26 more games to go, and
he only needs to score like
15
14 more goals.
Yeah. The record's 34. He's a fucking psycho. This guy. I mean, when Messi and Ronaldo, you want to talk about next stage coming up? This guy's a freak.
Yeah, he's
it's
nuts.
absolutely not fair. But before we get into my final pick, of course, I want to go to it's sponsored by Culture of Giving through Jersey Mike's. At Jersey Mike's, we think you should give for one reason and one reason only: to give. Our culture of giving at Jersey Mike's is as much of a part of our heritage as our oil and vinegar. We believe that making a great sub sandwich and making a difference can be one and the same. Every store we open starts by partnering with charity and the local community, because the way we see it, it's a sub's job isn't done at simply tasting good. A sub should be good too. Jersey Mike's, a sub above. And so for that, Connor McDavid is the athlete of the year. Talk about a guy who does freak things in their sport. Hockey won't get it, and he can't do team things, but God, I'm tired of overlooking people for doing individual things just because their team sucks. Nunez, you like to say it all the time, wins aren't a QB stat, and they shouldn't be a center stat either, because God, this guy's a freak. If we're giving awards to guys like Shohei Ohtani who just put up numbers on a shit team, then let's put it to Connor McDavid. Let's give it to him. I mean, this guy's a freak. He's absolutely not touchable in any stat. I mean, you wouldn't talk about a guy who's going to break records. He's probably the sole reason why I hate the Sabres for the longest time ever, and the lottery will forever be the most tarnished thing in my life. He could have been the next great savior. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
we can have our gripes separately. The lottery screwed the Sabres out of both McDavid and Austin Matthews in years in which they should have had the number 1 pick. That's beside the point.
What could have been?
As firmly,
but now they got the next McDavid on their team right now.
True.
So.
TNT.
Take Thompson, man.
I mean, breakout athlete could have gone to TNT too. That guy, 27 goals, I think, so far this year. Pretty good. Second to McDavid.
Pretty good.
Are we going like when the wedding is nearly done and we're hammered at this point?
I was so tired of having a fucking bow tie on. It took me 8 minutes to get my top button undone. So that's
I watched that.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I love not being able to unbutton a button.
All right. Well, that does it for the 2022 Stovie Awards. That does it for this year in hot stove history. A couple things before we get out of here. Plugs first. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hot Stove Pod, at Hot Stove Pod on Twitter. Here on the YouTube side, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment on the video. Tell us your picks for some of these awards. hit the notification bell as well so you're notified when we go live. Whenever we go live with live streams, outside the box score, or when we post new episodes here. Now, more on a micro level, this is our third year. I think this is our third full year doing the podcast.
Yeah.
In the midst of it, at least. So as we round out 2022, this is our second full calendar year of doing the podcast.
Sure.
As we round it out, I would just like to thank the three of you, my co-hosts, for being along on this ride. It's a fun time. As much as sometimes I don't want to do it, and as much as sometimes I know you guys probably also don't want to do it, there's not many other things that I'd rather be doing with my Tuesday nights.
Hell yeah. You
or
got
Wednesday
that right,
in
pal.
this case. And then I also want to thank those of you watching for watching the show. It's been a fun year for us. We've had honestly, in all of our inconsistencies, probably more channel growth than I could have expected, which is weird. Shout out to that one guy from South Africa, right? That tuned into our Oscars stream.
What, Jordan?
Yeah, I can't remember, but shout out to that guy.
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank you guys for watching. It's been a fun year. We're going to be taking a little bit of time off here, coming back around the Super Bowl for that. But in the meantime, like I said, thank you for watching. Thank you, Jersey Mike's, for being a great not sponsor of this show. For legal
Sub
purposes, we are not sponsored by Jersey Mike's. I had Jersey Mike's for the first time a couple days ago. It was pretty good.
I think pretty good.
It was good. Yeah.
It was fantastic. I didn't have it, but it was great.
Thank you for listening, and I hope that you stick around for whatever we have coming next, because the hot stove is not going away anytime soon. So be sure to enjoy your New Year's. Stay safe out there, and we will see you in 2023. Goodbye.
Yep.
Peace.